lot of it. Hey everyone. So today while walking in the woods I chanced upon some sort of a leg bone of an animal. So I decided to make a primitive bone knife. This time I decided to basically not use any modern tools whatsoever and just the materials that I could find in the woods. So after spending about 20 minutes or so crafting it, I was able to have a finished product, which is this little handy dandy bone knife here, which is pretty cool. Here you can see all angles of it. So an interesting note about bone knives. Basically, most primitive cultures didn't use bone as a cutting tool. Most cultures used harder materials, sharper materials like obsidian or flint or chert to do so. But some Stone Age cultures that are sort of far away from the main trade routes of the time, they used bone as a sort of a cutting tool of last choice. This particular design is called a Shank Knife. This is actually found in what is now Ireland and Scotland. And it was interestingly first recorded by Roman explorers who actually went to those lands. So I thought it was a pretty fascinating tool, and I decided to reproduce it. Now, a couple of notes about how to make this tool. So you take the leg bone, and first what I did was I took a hammer stone and I knocked off sort of the knuckle caps of the leg bone. The second thing that I did was I basically struck the center of the leg bone and basically broke it in half. It wasn't that difficult to do, but basically you just sort of break it so that it cracks diagonally. So then the third thing that you do is you take a sort of like an anvil stone, preferably something made out of sandstone like this, and you just grind it until you get a sharp bevel that you can cut with. And that's very important. This grinding step takes a considerable amount of time. And then after that, you abrade the sort of exposed bone on one end of it so that it doesn't cut your hand when you're handling it. And then finally, you take, well, or I took some root cordage wrapping and I just wrapped it into a handle just so that it's more comfortable and I can grip it with more force. So let's see how this works. Oh, much harder. This is much harder. All right, so that was pretty fun. Couple of thoughts about the bone knife. So, in terms of cutting plant fibers, cutting food processing, this knife presents a pretty good tool. I mean, it will do those jobs acceptably. In terms of cutting tough cordage like paracord, this knife took significantly more effort than other primitive blade designs that I've used, such as obsidian, glass, and of course bamboo. So it took significantly more force to work your way through paracord. Now, in terms of cutting leather, even the one that I use is a very thin piece of leather. That took a significant amount of effort to cut through it, and the cut was not clean. So perhaps in terms of like skinning animals, cutting leather, cutting hide, you might have some success with it, but it definitely felt that it took more effort. I tried it on wood. The edge began deforming almost immediately when cutting softwood with it, so it's definitely a hardness issue with the material itself. So overall, what do I think about the bone knife design? I think it's a very interesting design. I think it's a very utilitarian design if you're stuck somewhere that you don't have any kind of nappable stone. You can definitely consider using the bone knife as a cutting tool of last resort. Now, in terms of just everyday use, I think this is definitely probably the last on my list in terms of cutting power and cutting capability that I've seen so far, and I could consider using this or constructing this, but only when it's an emergency and for the lack of any other better materials. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care now.